Hello there, everyone. Excuse me. Oh, 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 croaky throat. Okay, how are we all? Everything looks like it's working. Hopefully you can all hear me and see me okay. Hi Jill. Hi Jean and Sandra. Hi Helen, how are you? Do you still have your snow down there, Helen? Is it really cold today? Hi Lindsay. Hi Mum, how are you? Do you have any snow at all, Mum? A little sprinkling, I think, didn't you, the other day? Most of our snow's gone. Actually, we've got I've got some flower pots outside, and one of those is just holding on to a tiny little square of snow, just a tiny little pocket. The rest of it's gone. Actually, we had a heavy frost this morning too, hence my big woolly jumper, as you can see. But that's all gone now. It's warmed up considerably. Still a bit snowy there and cold. Oh, at least you saw some snow, Helen. It wouldn't have been right if the rest of the country got snow and you didn't see any, would it? Oh, you're cold as well too, Mum. Yeah, it is generally cold, isn't it? I mean, it's warmed up here, but it's not warm by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not in minuses anymore. Not until this tonight. I think it's dipping again tonight for the last night, and then we forecast rain tomorrow. So we shall make the most of the bright sun today, I think. Hi Donna, how are you? No snow with you, Donna. Oh, that's good. So at least you can get out and about. And Sharon had a little bit in Peacehaven. Peacehaven, whereabouts is Peacehaven, Sharon? I can't picture that where that may be. Okie dokie. Okay, so Nan Campbell's with us. Tracy, hi Tracy, how are you? And Carol G. Okay, let's get going then, shall we? Okay, so today I'm focusing on the new releases, the releases that were Lisa and Catherine brought to us on Hobby Maker over New Year. So they are die cuts today. So, but I do have some inks out, so hopefully I can get a little bit inky as well. And sort of just highlight some of the die cuts a little bit. You can see I've already done a lot of the die cutting here, so hopefully that should make the process a little bit quicker for you. So I'm just sort of going to mix and match and try and make up a couple of cards and just show you how you can use these dies. I've got a couple of ideas in mind. Obviously there's going to be so many other ways that you can use them. I'm looking at the colours and everything that I've used today, and it's very reminiscent of the colours and the papers even that Paola used on her live yesterday. So I've only just realised, so she's subliminally influenced me, or it's just a complete coincidence. Hopefully I'll make, you know, very different cards. But it's all Lisa's products. It's all Lisa's favourite colours as well. I'm also using Lisa's colours. You can see you've got the pinks, the blues and the yellows here, and also probably Lisa's favourite ink colours here as well that you can see sitting there. Let me just pop those in that you can see there. I haven't got any slides for you today, so this is really sort of a case of another play session. So I've got ideas in mind. Hopefully it will go to plan and I create what I have in mind. If not, then I'm sure, fingers crossed, it will be something equally is worth seeing. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. There's so many more ideas you can come up with, and also the design team keep putting some fabulous inspiration into the group for you as well. Kathy, Peacehaven is just outside Brighton. Oh, it's down that way, is it? Oh, near Eastbourne, from where Lisa is. Ah, oh, very good. You know what? I might just have to try and make the, if Lisa goes ahead with her residential thing, I was going to say next year, but it's actually this year now, isn't it? Now in 2025, I might see if I can actually get over and actually try and hopefully catch up with some of you all. So fingers crossed, we get some details from Lisa about that in the coming weeks and months. I'm sure there'll be information on that too. Do you mind showing the floor dolls themselves? Yes, I will do. I shall get round to that in a second, Donna, once I stop waffling. Hi Tina, how are you? It's lovely to have you here. Happy New Year to you. So yeah, what I thought I'd use today as a nice little set actually, which in itself, these three sets of dies are a complete sort of card making set really. And then just to complete that, so we've got sentiments going on as well. I've also brought in the mini drop shadows, which are so cute. They're a gorgeous little stencil actually. I really love these little dinky ones, these dinky little stencils. They look so cute on the ultimate. So that is where our sentiments are going to come in. But say amongst these actual 4 products, it's sort of pretty much a complete card making kit really, because you've got your mats and layers with the twisted rectangles. You have your quirky vases, which there's so many different uses for. You can use individual vases, you can use them in groups as they've done here, you can stack them or put them on plates. And then you also have the spring petals and flowers, which you can see that I've die cut here, and they're actually a lot larger die cut than they appear on the packaging. So let's get round to, I shall show you those in a second. So we have the mini drop sentiments. So these are a tiny little stencil. Look, they sort of fit in my hand. They are smaller than A6 even, I think. Let me get my ruler out. Actually, there is measurements on the front here, but it's always nice for you to see that. Okay, I shall do these quickly, and I shall talk more about this when obviously I stencil them. But bring in my ruler. So we have our T ruler, and these are 10 just short of 10 centimeters wide, including the holes for the pins on the ultimate, and they are 12 centimeters tall. They're lovely. We get 3 sentiments in here, and each of the 3 sentiments have 2 stencils each. So we have the 3 sentiments. Each set of sentiments are individually numbered as well. So this particular sentiment, we have, oops, I forgot your birthday. So we have stencil 1 and stencil 2. And if I might just angle those, just so as you can see the numbers there in the corners briefly. Yeah, each pair of sentiments has the numbered stencils for you. So let me just show you again if I can. Really tricky, but you can see you have stencil 1 and stencil 2, so you always know where you are with these. I shall probably be using the wishing you a happy birthday, but we have really useful ones. Oops, I forgot your birthday, and feel better soon, which is a lovely one actually to pair with the flowers. So those are the stencils. We have the twisted rectangles, so it's a nested set of labels actually, but you can use them as mats and layers for the front of your card also. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dies, the smallest being a really useful size actually. And if I just get a card blank out, this is a really useful size as a label, just to stamp a sentiment onto, or just sort of accent something on the front of there. That's a sort of really nice size, and it goes all the way up to the largest size, which sits perfectly on the front of an A6 card. But equally, if you're using a large card, particularly a square card, then this can also, let me just bring in a square card for you. This will also, oh, I'm going to end up flicking those, aren't I? This larger one will also sit nicely on a square card, and I think, bear with me, I have a larger mat and layer here. I've had this sitting in my stashed for ages. It's 7.5 inches square. I'm keeping it there. One of these days I'll use it. But that size also works nicely if you wanted to layer that or create something special in the middle of that card also. So it's a really useful size and a lovely shape. They're called, let me see, I've forgotten what they're called. Let me just check. They're twisted rectangles, but obviously we've got the little notches cut out the side, so it's in a tiny little indent. So they're not your regular rectangle, just something a really useful shape, but not too out there to make it tricky to use. If that makes sense to you. That's what I look at when I look at nesting dies. If it's too much of a sort of a peculiar size, my brain gets a little bit stuck and I don't always know what to do with it. So that's a really useful size. So the QUIRKY vases, I haven't done any die cuts of these yet at the moment, but I shall die cut these as I need them. But you can see they're a really lovely small set, so perfect for going through your small on-desk die cutting machine, which, you know, I like to use excuse me, for my die cutting. So these are just regular vases, actually, lots of different shapes, nothing fancy to them actually, but they are perfect because you can add their character by die cutting different patterned papers, or you can stencil onto them because they've got a really nice sort of, they die cut as a nice solid vase actually, which gives you a nice surface area to be stenciling onto them, or adding texture with pastes or sparkle sprays, or stenciling, or adding some shading on there as well. And so we've got these unusual looking ones, but these are actually the plates that the vases are sitting on. And we have our little bow detail which can be added to any of the vases also. So that is going to be a really useful across all of the other dies and floral dies that Lisa's bought out actually, because this is we have these which are the newest obviously, but Lisa's has bought out previously lots of single stemmed florals of lots of different sizes and styles, so it's nice to be able to have another accessory to use those with. And then we come on to the spring petals and stems. Now this one you get so much for your money. If I turn this over here, you can see all the dies that are involved. Now, unlike the two excuse me, unlike the two sets that I've just shown you, these aren't carded. These come to you all tabbed. That is a magnetic sheet that I added them onto. So these come to you tabbed. Let me just find. So I should keep this to hand really, shouldn't I? Let me just find a darker piece of card. There we are. Oh, Hazel's seen something. Okay, so these come to you tabbed, and I have just split them just for my own purposes, and I'm just trying to work out which way they were attached. There. These come to you like so, all in one unit. Now it's up to you whether you separate them or not. A lot of the times when they come to you like this, I would suggest that you keep them all together. But what I've done, I've strategically clipped them to separate the floral dies, so the coloured parts here that we actually make the flowers, and I've snipped them away from all the foliage pieces. So what that enables me to do is to keep all of these together. Now this contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dies, which are quite small, so I could snip them all individually if I wanted. But this particular set die cut all of these green pieces. So these are all your foliage pieces. So you'll be able to keep these all together and quite confident in and quite usefully, you'll be able to die cut these from the foliage colours. So I've die cut mine all in green. I could have die cut this another couple of times in various shades of green. But what it does, it keeps them all together. Now, if you're die cutting one of these pieces in green, you might as well do all the rest of them. If you don't use them all, then you keep them in the envelope, the handy envelope, so they're there to use for another project. This set of dies, which actually, if you look, when I turn that over, that is one complete set. So you can't actually separate these dies out any further. So this is the section that I snipped away from the foliage pieces, but it is basically one die in itself, and this will cut for you all of your pretty petals in effect. So what you can do, you can choose all your colours that you want for your flowers. You can stick with one colour, you can cut many, and you can die cut all of your blooms and your petals all in one go. And again, that's what I've done here, and I've kept them all in colour order, as you can see. And basically, when I've die cut them, I've literally, best I could, and I just lay these over the top. They've shifted slightly, obviously, and I've just popped out all the die cuts and just put them in their group orders onto my piece of cardstock there, so they're ready and waiting for me to use. So it's a really nice die set to use, actually, because I would suggest keeping all the foliage ones together. If you did want to separate out, I mean, for example, I wanted to cut this one here again, because I die cut these foliage ones twice, but I wanted this particular stem 3 times, and I didn't cut the whole lot again. But what I did do, no, that's not the one, bear with me. Okay, you can see here, I just took one piece of card, and I was able actually to, just from the one piece of card, just from the size of this, I was able to die cut it twice. Initially I was able to die cut it that way, and then it was pure fluke, actually. I was able to turn it around and I could die cut it again. But I did want this particular stem 3 times, and you can see with the waste that I've got left here, there's lots of larger areas that I'm not going to keep. I mean, I could get precious about it, but then I'd end up with no space at all. But what you can do, if there are just particular areas that you want to just die cut again, all you can do is just take that out and just line up your die. Say, this is the one in particular I wanted. Just line that up, and you can die cut that from there. Yes, you will end up with all odd little bits and pieces around there, but that's fine, because I'm still getting the piece from that area that I wanted. So it's a really nice usable set, I would say. And keeping it in the 2 pieces like that, it looks less daunting, and you've got a lot less to keep track of. If you did start snipping into these, I mean, which you can if you want to, of course, you'd have to make sure that you don't lose them. And to snip them, I don't know what you use, but if you're new to this and you're not particularly familiar, I've had these little snippers, little jewelry snippers. They come in a set of 4 or 5, I think. I had them years ago. I couldn't even tell you where I got them from. But these particular ones are little wire cutters, and that is enough just to snip. Let me show you. Just to snip these tiny little tabs that are in between. I could go around and just snip all of them off if I wanted to, just to tidy up, but and on some dies I would, because they would catch, but I don't need to on this. Now, alternatively, if you have something like these scissors, which are like the Tim Holtz shears, they're actually quite heavy duty. These will also work and snip those little tabs as well. Or if the other way of doing it is to actually bend them. They are so thin and quite wiry, you can actually bend the die backwards and forwards and then slightly twist it, and that will weaken the tab, and it will end up snapping off as well. So they are easy to separate if you want to. So these are the dies you can see here. These are the blooms, and these are the corresponding die cuts that we get from these sets of dies. Now, if we look at the packaging here, we can see that a couple of the different blooms will cross over. So you probably will need to die cut the bloom dies a couple of times, because if you have these single stems here, they have the flowers on sitting on the top, and these relate to these flowers here, which you only get 2 of. Okay, so you have these 2 here. Now you have this particular stem, but it is used, if you look at the shapes of the blooms or the petals, they are the same shape as what's used on here, but we're just using a different stem. But again, we've got 3 flowers on there, and you're only getting 2 actual die cuts. So you would still need to probably die cut multiple times, but because they're all joined together, it's really not too much of an issue at all. And then we can see that we look here, these stems that we've used with the larger flower, we've used with the, or Lisa's used with the smaller flower here. So everything is completely interchangeable and mix. You know, you can mix and match. So it really is a chance to just play. So it's really nice actually to have everything all laid out and all die cut in all your favourite colours. That would be the way to do it. Don't think too much at this stage. What colour, what am I going to, you know, where's it going to, what colour theme am I going to go down? Just die cut all your favourite colours. Have them sitting there in front of you. You don't even need to use them on that day, actually, to be honest. Sometimes it's better just to do the die cutting, walk away, then come back either that afternoon or the next day, and all of a sudden you're filled with different ideas. So yeah, it's a really nice chance to play. And also we have all the little centers of the flowers, which you can see the little die cuts sitting here. So again, you possibly will want to die cut this particular piece a number of times just to get all the centers of the flowers. But as I said, you just as I just picked, you know, fussy cut this tiny little piece here and just sort of cherry pick the area. If there are just individual petals that you wanted and you only have a tiny little piece of card of that particular colour left, then again, it's just so easy. You don't need to separate this. You just find that tiny little piece of card, line this up on your plates with a little bit of card, just die cut that area, and then you're good to go. So with that being said, let's start playing, shall we? So yeah, I've put that on the magnetic strip just because I had it sitting there and it makes it easy just to pop in the envelope. Okie dokie. Right, now I've got a couple of different things going on here, so I've die cut those. I'm going to come to those in a second. Now I've also used Lisa's a splash of colour, and I may have even chosen the same colours that Paola used yesterday, so I think she must have completely influenced me. But it's so nice to use the colour, isn't it, especially with the sun out, and sort of hopefully, fingers crossed, spring is on its way. So I've used the splash of colour cardstock. Now this is a really nice one to use because you have basically all your florals and all your colour matching done for you. So I've already done the die cutting. Let me just bring those in. Now I look very organised. As soon as I start creating, then this is all, it will all go out the window, I'm sure. So I've already die cut the floral, sorry, the foliage. So out of the green matches what is in this lovely marbled background. So I've die cut my florals, sorry, the foliage. I've used this piece of card paper, another sheet obviously, to die cut the florals as well. And I just cherry picked this part of the paper because obviously that's the pinks and the purples. I didn't want to go into the greens for the petals, but I will be using this one for the background. And then we have like this lovely corally pink, which I'm going to use for the backgrounds and frames but it matches so nicely with the florals there. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. Hope it doesn't flick everywhere. I can be so clumsy when I'm die cutting, to be honest. Right, let's move that out of the way. So to start with, I am going to do some stenciling for you as well. So with this particular card, I'm going to stencil the sentiment. I'm going to put them back there. So I'm going to make an A6 card. I'm going to stencil onto oh dear, it's so annoying. I'm going to stencil onto textured cardstock, but to start with, I'm just going to cover the base of my card blank with this lovely decorative paper. So to do that, I'm just lining up my card blank into the corner, and I'm literally just tracing around the card so I can cut that on the machine. Nothing more fancy than that. I find it a lot more accurate way than taking the measurements and trying to match it up that way. So that way you know that you are able to cut or make, you know, line up and cut specifically to that card blank that you're using that day. So as simple as, really. So I'm just going to stick that on so it gives that a good chance to set. I declogged my glue. So that works, and I can leave that sitting on there to set. So I'm going to, and you can see this colour matches up lovely with those layers. I'm going to use that with the twisted rectangles in a moment. So I'm going to stencil first, and I'm going to use the wishing you a happy birthday. So these lovely cute little stencils. I hope Lisa does more of these because they really do make me happy. They really make me smile. I don't know why. I just love really small, dinky, cute things. Okay, so what I also want to do, I want to stencil this onto a twisted rectangle. Now I pre-measured this up actually, so the second die in from the largest is a really nice size for me to stencil onto. Let me put that on there and I can show you. So we can measure that up that way. You can see that that fits the wording on perfectly. And what I want to do, I think the best way for me to do this, I think, is to die cut my layer first, and then I can position my stencils over the top of that so I know that it's all going to be centralized and fit perfectly. So I'm just going to die cut this. I really do need to get some clean plates, but do you know, I am holding off until Lisa's machine gets here, then we'll have nice new shiny plates to use as well. So I think I'm more than ready for a new die cutting machine to come in the very near future, so I'm so excited to see it. So I'm going to bring my Ultimate in. Okay. I think I might need a new silicone mat. Oh no, it doesn't look as bad on the screen actually, which is quite lucky because this is so stained. Not that it affects the way that it works at all, but I do like nice clean things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just offer up the stencil to the die cut there and just line up in the center, so therefore I can position that on the pegs there, and that works perfectly. So I've got my sentiment all done by eye. I've just measured that up so that's sort of sitting centrally there. Now I think what I will do though, to be I will be using the the vases on this. No, I will use it centrally. It lines up better if it's central. We shall work with that. Okay, and then just make sure underneath that the die cut is sitting straight, just by using the lines on the grid there. Okay, right, now I couldn't make up my mind the colours that I'm going to use for this, so let me think. I am going to use sugar candy, I think. Yeah, and I'm going to do an ombre effect as if I possibly can. So initially I'm just going to come in with the sugar candy. So it's a nice pink, and this is from set 1. Again, I think it's one of Lisa's favourites, paired with the juicy pineapple and the Surf's Up, I think. I know sort of Lisa sort of flicks between that and the Deep Ocean. But all the blues are lovely, to be honest with you. But I'm going to put in the sugar candy, and I'm just going to go in really light initially, because I do want to get an ombre effect. Now, I don't think I can do the ombre effect on each word. I possibly could, actually, if I use the small brush, but I think I might just go with the sentiment as a whole. So I'm going to initially do the same level of stenciling, or the same intensity of ink across the whole of the sentiment, and try and keep that evenness. Now, a blending brush would be better, I would find, because it's larger and it covers a larger area quicker, but I don't have one for the sugar candy, so that I might need to put that on my shopping list. But I'm using the chunky brush, and look, in this time it's taken me to chat there, I've managed to get that stencil all the way across. Now I am stenciling onto textured cardstock, actually, which just gives a nice obviously gives a nice texture. I mean, the clue's in the name. But what I want to say is that whether you're stenciling onto smooth or onto textured, it doesn't matter. You know, you still get that lovely look underneath. I know people can be a little bit wary of stamping onto textured cardstock, but stenciling is a whole different ballgame. So we have that nice light base. We want to try and bring in a little bit of ombre, so a little bit of graduation of colour, really. And I'm going to come in with the Rustic Coral for this, mainly because I think it will start matching in with the paper that I'm using. Shall I attempt to do the words? You know, I think I might. Let's be brave. Let's be brave. So I'm going to... yeah, I'm going to use a smaller stencil brush, and I've got the Rustic Coral sitting here. And I'm just going to, and actually as well, I think what I'm, oh no, I won't. I'm going to keep the pink that's already on there. So I'm just going to take off a lot of the ink, and I'm just going to tip into the bottom of the words there. Now you can see why I would need to use a smaller brush. And if you just do this slowly and you circular motions and just small amounts of ink each time, and just work your way across the bottom of each of those words, you will colour tint the base of those words. Okay, you'll just catch the bottom of each of those letters. Now if I take that away, yeah, you can see that. Can you see that already changed colour, actually, compared to everything else that I've done? Let me see if I've put my other camera on. Oh, excuse my arms there. If I can use camera 2 and perhaps just zoom in a little bit. There you go. You can just see that we've got a little change of colour sitting at the bottom of those letters for you. So it will take a little bit of time, but I think it's definitely worth it. And particularly, you know, depending on the colours that you use, you can get some really, really lovely effects for this. I think blue going into yellow would look really nice. So I'm done that layer. So I'm just going to come now into this one here. And the trick is just to use a small brush and small amounts of ink and just build that ink up. Now, here I don't have as much space to go round and round, so because I haven't got too much ink, I can sort of go backwards and forwards, and that will give you exactly the same effect as well. Again, just build it up really slowly. Can you see? Yes, you can see actually that the colour is changing, and I will do the same and move down to these words also, so hopefully I can go a little bit quicker for you. The advantage of using the smaller brushes is that you can obviously contain where you're putting that ink, because if you're doing this, what you don't want to do is tip into that word. Although what actually might be a nice idea, thinking about it, you could ombre from the bottom upwards on happy, but then you could ombre from birthday from the top downwards. So what you could do, you could actually tip into both words at the same time. That might be a really nice way to do it as well. And you don't have to do too much. I think as long as you've got that distinction of colour between the two, between the top of the letters and the bottom of the letters, that is more than enough. And because we've got the space, I think with birthday, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the ink at the bottom now. I'm just going to push it into the bottom of the letters like this. Okay, so it takes a little bit more time than it would be if you were using just one colour. But to be honest, you know, using just one colour and just going bold on this layer is just perfect. This is such a lovely stencil and gives you such a unique look to your cards. So let's take that away. And then you can see the effect that we've got there. So we have that two-tone wording going on there. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I do apologise for my cough. It's annoying me just as much as you are probably. Okay, so what we can do now, stencil 2, and you can, there we are. You can see that we have the number there. So as I said earlier on, each pair of sentiments does have the labelling of the stenciling as well as we're used to. So now this, we're adding the shadow. Now, I like to add a bold shadow, and it really make those sentiments pop. And when I tried this earlier on, I used Cobblestones, which I was really pleased with actually. I haven't used Cobblestones for ages. So just make sure that that is lined up. Now, what I did have told you before, there's a tiny bit of wiggle room in our stencils. You can see it here, just as the stencil's moving. It's completely natural. But what you do need to do is make sure that your positioning for each stencil is the same. If you're one of these people, when you put the stencil on and your preference is to pull the stencil this way and have that tiny little bit of slack on this side of the pegs, make sure you do that with all of your stencils as you go through. That way everything will line up. If you're someone who prefers this slack to be on this side, which I do, then make sure again you do that through all of your stencils. That way you'll make sure you'll get that pinpoint precision when you line up each of the stencils in the set. So it's a really small point, and but sometimes it really is just enough of a detail for you to be really happy, or just, oh, you know, not quite what I expected. Because I know a lot of people they've tried these, you know, they've got these words before, and they have had, and you do need to take a little practice just to line these up. But once you remember that you've got this it's a tiny little amount of slack in these peg holes, which you're going to have naturally. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be able to fit the stencils onto the pegs, of course. But just remember which way is your preference to set those stencils on there. And I promise you, the lining up of all your stencils will then, you know, it'll be a game changer for you, I think. So I'm going to make sure I've got a nice even layer across there. We want that to be all the way across. So when I take that away, we have that lovely, lovely effect. And again, I think using a darker colour really makes the colours that you've used on the main sentiment really pop an awful lot more. So I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to switch you back to the top there, just so you can see that full effect. And you can see now sitting there, that really sits nicely. And I'm going to have to speed up a little bit because I've been chatting and I've just noticed the time. Okay, right, what I'm going to do now then, I'm going to die cut the larger layer of the nested rectangles so I can matte and layer this here. And also at the same time, I'm going to die cut a vase. So I want the vase to be the same colour. Now, do I want to do more than one? I've got the space to do more than one, so let's do that. I'm going to put all of these on the die cutting machine all together. Actually, let's make sure that we've got 2 or 3 different shapes. Actually, I can probably, do you know what? I can fit most of them on there. And I can leave them sitting in the envelope if I want to. So I'm just going to die cut this whole lot together. Bear with me. Oh. Line those up. Nearly lost one then, it went flying. Okie dokie. So, where's my nested rectangles? Let's pop them onto there. Actually, these rectangles, they've got tiny, tiny little stitch lines going around the outside as well. So it's a lovely detail. I think you'll be super pleased when you get these home. They are so lovely. And it's always useful and it's always nice. It's nice and refreshing to have a new nested set of dies too, isn't it? I think even if there's like a go-to style of card that you make with nested shapes, it really doesn't take too much to adapt that style to a new set of nested dies at all, does it really? And then it sort of gives you a whole new lease of life to that particular style of card. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay out my sentiment directly onto there. Nice and straightforward. The colours I don't need to think about because Lisa's done all that work for us. That sits nicely on there. Even that in itself looks pretty, doesn't it? I'd be more than happy just to send that as it is. Yeah, I really like that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach that onto there straight away. Okay, who else have we got? Oh, hi, Karen. Karen from Germany. Lovely to see you there. There's a few names joined us as well, actually. It's lovely to have you here. Happy New Year. Oh, let's move that. There we are. I'm so pleased with that in itself. That looks lovely. It looks really almost circusy, doesn't it, as well? It's got an element of, especially with the ombre like that and the dark highlight in it. Right, so let's move this out of the way. Oh, let's put that over there because Hazel will run off with that. She's a monkey for nicking things off the floor, I tell you. Okay, so we've got a couple of vases here, so I don't know which I'm going to use, if indeed they will fit at all. Oh, maybe they won't fit. Let me see. Do you know what? I've just had a thought. These could be used as like medicine bottles or potion bottles as well, couldn't they, at Halloween? If you know, I'm going off in a complete tangent now. But if you stack these like this, and if you've done them in blacks and purples and things, and put them with the spider web and the Halloween stencils that Lisa bought out for us last year, that would look amazing, wouldn't it? You could have like potion bottles, and you can have some of the like the bubble stencils and sort of the bubbles coming out the top of those as well, couldn't you? Yeah, that's just me going off on a complete tangent. Okay, so yeah, I just thought of that. I thought that would be a really nice idea. So I'm not sure I can make this fit on here, to be honest. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be adaptable. I'm going to cut, let me see. I'm going to cut this one down, I think. It's using large scissors. I'm going to cut this one down to size. Nobody will know the difference. Excuse me. So I can put that on there. So nobody wouldn't know that that wasn't a larger flower. So then we can have this, and then we can layer our, I need my tweezers. Then we can add our flowers to the top like this. Now, in hindsight, I think I would possibly have needed to use a larger card, but you can see where I'm going with this. If I'd have had the space to play, then I would have added a vase with a lot more flowers sitting on there. So I'm putting that on the side, but perhaps what we could do, we could use the some of these stems, which again are a little bit too large, but that's no problem at all. I think what we can do, we can layer this like so, and now this is where I find myself to be quite clumsy because I don't have delicate fingers to, but you can see what I'm doing. You can build your florals around. So actually those might be better on there. Let's make more of an impact like that. Okay, you can basically build up around that frame with all your different florals. Now I should have actually used a larger card, I think, but you can see how that builds, and then we can use these smaller elements sitting into the center of those flowers like that. And what I would do then also is I would snip these flowers off at the bottom there. Now she'll glue these and finish that off better later on, because I do have another card in mind that I just want to have a chance to show you. But I think with that one, although I misjudged the size of the card blank there, I think it was nice to be able to show you the stenciling on there. And I think, again, in hindsight, I think it would have been better if I'd have pushed that up, so I would have had space for the flowers to sit underneath. So again, I think I just misjudged the size of the card on that one, but you can see how that comes together. And you don't, I think sometimes less is more. So I think even with that card, it would have worked just with that sentiment on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put those to one side, and I do want to get onto this second card for you just briefly. It's going to be a really simple card, but it's something that I just had in my mind that I just wanted to have a try. So again, I've got another A6 card. I've got a matte and layer, but I think I might just use on its own actually without the colours. So I've got this Lisa Super Smooth Matte and Layer there, and it's going to be super simple. And what I want to do is like a trio of flowers sitting behind a sentiment. So it's going to be a stamped sentiment. I think what I need to do is to see the size of the sentiment on the card first. So I might try I might actually go for best wishes. We've got wishes there and we've got best here. Okay, again, I think, yeah, best works there. I just want it in this top corner. There's just an idea in my head that I just want, you know, I was hoping it was going to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use these stamps. So these are the mini sentiments. Again, lovely stamp sets to use. I think the set of, there's either 5 or 6, but it covers all occasions. And you have the scroll, oh, the italic, the lovely font in different words on each of the sets, actually. So now what I want to do, I'm going to use an acrylic pad or an acrylic stamp block. So I'm going to pick up my best, and I'm actually going to be able to use the Swift Dry ink as well. And I know if you go back and watch Paola's live from yesterday, she explains bold and something to really do, you know, stand out with your sentiments, then this Swift Dry ink is for that. It will also be great to stamp as an outline for stamps that you want to colour. Oh, for some reason, let's put you full screen again. Okay, so I'm just stamping that, and what I do, I never take the stamp away. I just allow the stamp, I keep the pressure and always keep one hand on the stamp, and I just allow a little bit of time for the ink to travel from the stamp and sit into the fibres of the card, and then we end up with that really lovely impression. So if you're new to stamping, that's perhaps quite a nice technique just to use. You know, don't be too much of a rush to pull your stamp away. So I've used the best from the best set there, and I'm going to come back to the birthday set, and I'm just going to pick out this really small stamp that says wishes. So look, I'm creating my own sentiment, mixing and matching, and I can stamp in wishes there. And I really like to use sentiments with different fonts. I think it just adds a lot of interest, and it can really sort of be the focal point of a card. And I'm just going to stamp that into that area there. Just leave that just for a second or two, just to transfer that ink. And we have that lovely stamped impression. So we have the best wishes. And because we're using the Swift Dry, it's a hybrid ink. Again, you can use it as outlines for any of your stamps that you want to colour. Allow it to dry. Don't necessarily need it to heat set because it is a quick dry ink. And there's 2 other colours as well. There's coffee, which is obviously a brown colour, and there's flint, which I think is a grey colour, which is really nice to use. So what I want to do now, I want to bring in the die cuts that I have here. Where's my tweezers? Use my tweezers again. Now what I want to do, now I couldn't decide whether I wanted to use the smaller stems. I think looking at it, I want to use the larger stems. I want to use the larger stems, and this is going to look a bit odd initially. I want to use the larger stems, and I want to layer them behind the text there. Obviously I'm covering up what I've just stamped. The other way to do this is to stamp the best wishes onto another piece of card and layer it over the top, but I want to do this in a different way, of course. So what I'm going to do, I'm initially just going to scope this out and look at the flowers that I've got to use. So I'm going to just pull in the blooms and sit them over the top. Now I'm just going to decide as I go along which of the flowers I want to use, and just make sure that it looks the way that I want it to look. Actually, that's going to work out nicely. So we've got 3 different shapes of flowers in 3 different colours there. Actually, just looking at this little bloom here, this pink one, if you were to die cut this lots of times, you can use them as tiny little clouds as well. So that's the way that I want to use that, I think. Now, before I settle on these flowers, what I want to do is just give them a little bit of enhancement, not a huge amount. So I've just selected the inks that match the colours that I've die cut them in, and I'm just going to use my brush and just highlight just around the edges, just to give those blooms just a tiny little bit of dimension. Again, you don't have to do this. This is entirely up to you, but it does add just that little bit of something. And if I put that alongside those ones there and change camera, you can see the different just about, you can, as that dries, and you'll see actually with a better when you have the flowers in front of you, you see that there is just that element of dimension going on there with just that tiny little bit of ink, and there is a difference between the two. You can see there, it just adds that tiny little bit of detail. I don't think it needs a huge amount. Yellow possibly wasn't the easiest colour to demonstrate that on initially, but I'll show you with the blue. Again, there you are. There you go. Just do it along one edge or whatever, or all the way around the outside. You don't need a huge amount on there, but it does just give a bit of shadow, I think. That just works really nicely, and it works really nicely with these stencil brushes too. So we can add that there. Now we'll do the same with the pink. So sugar candy. Let's pick that up. And I'll just put that in the same position as I used on the blue flower as well, just so that we have some continuity going on, I think. So you can see there that we do have a little bit of shading. I say it's not essential, and it depends on the cardstock that you use, really. So let's just, let's leave you there so you can see that. Now I think what I will do, how do I want to do this? I am going to attach the blooms to the stems first, and I think I'm going to do that initially with a tiny little bit of, I'm just looking at the time, tiny little bit of tape, because I would normally use glue actually if I had the time, but because you're watching and time is against me a little bit, I'm just going to use a tiny bit of tape just so as I know that it sticks. If I use glue, then it'll be slippy slidey all over the place. So I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of tape onto the back of the flowers. Like so. Again, I say if you were doing this, or if I was doing this normally, I would actually use glue myself. I'm going to use the tape. I'm going to attach that onto the back of the flowers. Take really fiddly. Okay. So you can see that there. So I can just then use my tweezers and just secure that stem in place. I know that that's not going to go anywhere now. Secure that in place. And then I can just use a dab of glue. Actually, I should put the blue one on first, so I'll line up the the centre. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue now so I can attach this to the card. Foam pads would also work with this. So I'm going to make sure that the stem is straight, actually, not necessarily the flower. So I'm going to add that there. It's always easier to line up with the centre flower or the centre object first, and then put the other objects either side. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now you may wonder where I'm going with this. There is a method to my madness. I'm going to line up that one just underneath, like so, and then this one, oh sorry, I forgot, you need to see what I'm doing. There we are, and I can line that one up there. So I want all the stems to be straight. Okay, I shall put the centres into the flowers in a second, and then I'm going to take my pair of scissors, tiny scissors this time, I don't need my big scissors, and I'm going to snip those stems. But I'm going to keep them, and I'm going to I could do different levels actually, can't I? I can do that one there. I could put that there. And then I can do perhaps this one up here again. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm being indecisive. Very indecisive. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then, keeping these stems, I'm going to use my glue. And I can reattach those underneath. Now, what you can do, instead of stamping the sentiment directly onto the card and snipping the stems, you could keep all the stems and the flowers intact, and then you could actually add your stamped sentiment either on a piece of vellum or a separate piece of cardstock over the top of the stems as well. So that would be another way to do this. So I'm just keeping these stems when I'm re-adding them in line with the stems at the top, so it makes a lot more sense. And then we can add that one down here as well. So it's a very clean and simple card. It's a very different sort of card. As I say, it's an idea that I had in my head. It's just one that I just, you know, felt like I had to try and give it a go. But you know what? Clean and simple, I think, can really, really work. They're not always the most simplest to make, to be honest. But I really like that effect there. And if we just put, we need 2 centres for these flowers, so we put a tiny bit of glue there, and a tiny little bit of glue there. I think I will pick up the centres of the flowers, so I'll use the pink centre on the yellow flower, and the yellow centre on the pink flower, so that they really match. And I think what I might need is just something just to finish off the base of those stems there. And I'm just going to reach up and get some pearls. I've got some small ones. Yes, I think I might use the little silver ones actually. So I've nearly finished, and I've kept you just that tiny little bit longer, but I have some sparkle gems here, and I only bring these out very occasionally when I'm making, but I think this is the perfect opportunity. This isn't the best thing to use, so I'm going to bring out my other tool. There we are. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to add just a little dash of glue at the base of each of those, and then I can add a little gem. Oh no, that's a gold one. I don't want a gold one. Make sure I pick up the right ones for each. Oh, we've lost. I need another little silver one. Oh, it's even smaller. That's all right, I'll use that one. There we are. Just to finish off the edge of those there. So it's a nice, super simple card. It's really nice as a little get well soon card, just a nice cheery card with the flowers on there, but it's a really different way to use the flowers. Again, I've got so much left over there that I shall definitely come back on another live and use those. Move that out of the way. So although I bring in this second card, although say I did get the sizes slightly wrong on that, but you will get an idea of how to use the stenciling there. But that's yeah, two very different ways on how to use those new dies. I know I've kept you a little while there for two, quite simple, straightforward cards. But say, although they're clean and simple to look at, they're not always the cleanest or the easiest and most simplest to make. But I think they are really effective. So hopefully you enjoyed that today. Thanks so much for sticking with me and joining me today. It's lovely to have you back this week. So nice to get back crafting again. I took a break over Christmas. I didn't expect to, but I took a break, and so it was really nice to get back and start afresh. And I'm really enjoying this and looking forward to what Lisa has planned for this year. 2025 is going to be very big, I think. So that's it for me today. Join Lisa tomorrow evening. I can't believe it's Friday already tomorrow. This week has flown. So Lisa will be with you at 6:30, I believe, tomorrow. And I shall see you all then. Take care, everyone.